Yes! Hello, my beautiful friends. It is an amazing day. We are, as per usual, waiting for the tubes to connect themselves all across the fruited plain of the interwebs, and it is a beautiful Friday. We made it through another busy week. We had a lot that we covered. If you've been here, we spent a lot of time on the election litigation stuff, and we're zooming back in on some of that today because we've got a new case out of North Carolina. Well, it's not a new case. It's an order on a case that we have been talking about, or at least a category of cases that we've been talking about. Today, it's about matching the numbers with the person so that you know they're legitimate and they should be voting, right? We've got ID numbers, social security numbers, and so on and so forth. And the forms say you got to check the number, you put the number in there and then check it. Problem is, some election referees, some secretaries of state around the country are not doing that. And so that is not good. So we've got an order from a court out of North Carolina, and they're going to be keeping on 225,000 people who are in this problematic category that maybe their registrations have not been essentially validated. North Carolina, a very important swing state, and so we'll zoom in on that, and that's what this looks like right here. Now, we've also got, in response to some of this, Matt Gaetz is out, and he's saying that there should be federal legislation that allows the voter rolls to be cleaned up, right? North Carolina is not going to be cleaning up their rolls, and they're going to say, well, it's too close to the election. It's very early. It's very late in the cycle. And this is the lawsuit that we'll look at. But Matt Gaetz has introduced, or is intending to introduce, an amendment to the National Voter Registration Act to stop this stuff. And a lot of this stuff is coming out, like 2 weeks before the election. We appreciate that, but would have been nice like last year or something. We see a lot of this happening right now, and I'm not singling out Gaetz, but it's like a lot of stuff kind of late in the game. Anyways, we'll talk about it. Then, well, I think we'll start today first with the J6 stuff because Judge Chutkan, we're waiting for her to drop the appendix any minute now. Hasn't happened yet, but what she's got for us is an opinion and order, and so there was an appendix that Jack Smith wants to publish for everybody to see because he cannot get a trial done before the election, and Judge Chutkan she must be so mad looking at these polls. Oh, she must be furious. In fact, here, just look. Here's what Polymarket had for us. Oh, Chutkan must be furious. Oh, let's see what Kamala she has for us. I don't know what's going on here. It looks like maybe a reporting error or something. That doesn't look normal. That flat graph there, right? That looks weird. Anyways. All right, but over here, Polymarket, 62-37. So no wonder Judge Chutkan has to then start releasing all of these appendices so that she can try to smear Trump because things are looking pretty rough for him over there. So we'll see what she ordered. This appendix should be popping off any minute today, but probably going to be highly redacted. Trump submitted yesterday a request, a motion to continue the release of the appendix, but the judge said no. So we'll go through those. And then finally, my friends, we got updates, man, because Trump was on fire last night. And you may have watched it. We'll hit some of the highlights on it. I was considering watching the whole thing, but we're a little short on time today. That's why we're early. And we appreciate you joining us early, because this is day 2 of an event that your boy will be attending today. And yesterday was amazing. But anyways, Trump was out last night, and it was a wild ride. Absolutely hilarious. And Kamala got obliterated. You know who else got obliterated? White Dudes for Harris. Oh, man. It was so bad that even Brian Stelter, who, I don't know, I think maybe likes being abused by news agencies and maybe, I don't know, other people. But even he was out saying that they did a good job yesterday, saying that Trump was pretty dang hilarious. And Kamala didn't show up, and she got roasted, man, over the coals. So I got a bunch of clips here. Trump was talking about White Dudes for Harris. Trump was talking about how Chuck Schumer can become a woman and then inherit the Democratic Party because that's what they're interested in. He ripped Bill de Blasio for being a terrible governor. there was a talk about childcare and about how Doug should not be let anywhere near a nanny. Trump actually was like, well, that was kind of a rough one. But, anyways, he brought it up. He also talked about Mayor Adams and said that he has to wrap up the event because illegal aliens from Texas need the room and they have to vacate immediately. And then Kamala released a ridiculous video that nobody liked at all. And she brought back one of the most obnoxious characters of all time that I never got at all. That character. I never got this character. She's like sniffs her armpits and stuff. And like, I don't know, liberals think it's hilarious. Anyway, so they brought her out. And then we've got reaction because you can see even Tish James was standing up for 45-47, baby, clapping those hands. It must have hurt so bad for her too. Oh gosh. But there she is standing. Shout out to ALX for capturing that one. And then Kamala, I don't know what's going on with that campaign, but she summoned the demons from the seventh circle. Look, right there. I think that's when one of them was coming out. Right there. Like emerging from the face and coming into all of us. And you can see this woman, even this young gal back here is like, you can see it in her face right there. It's pretty low resolution, but you can see it. She's traumatized. She's like, what the heck is going on? A new way forward, she's thinking? Into the gates of hell or what? Anyways, we'll listen to what Kamala said and how she sounded. All coming up because it's a beautiful Friday. And then as we said, you can see some of these polls, man, looking good. We'll see if this continues to change as the morning develops. Kamala's down to 38 now, 38.6. Rough. 37.4. It's going down as we sit here. Oh, we could do a whole show just watching this chart, huh? All right. So anyways, we've got a lot to get to, my friends. It's a beautiful Friday. I hope your week has been outstanding. Your boy was at an event yesterday. It was really good. And I have a lot to report on that, but I've got day 2 of it today. And so I'll be heading there as soon as we're done and wrapping up here. Thanks for joining us early and for understanding the schedule change. I know there's a lot cooking today. I think Trump was on with Bongino as well. So if you missed that, I'm sure that's going to be good later today. But before we get into any of this business, my friends, you know what we got to talk about? Getting prepared for the madness, because we remember Event 201 and Bill Gates and the Economic Forum and John Hopkins and all the COVID stuff. And we're here again. It's October. We're on the verge of a historical election. And the playbook's the same, right? Create chaos and then enroll us in tyranny. Well, we were caught off guard last time, but it's not going to happen this time because we've got the Wellness Company. They created a medical emergency kit, and every home in America should have at least one of these. They're packed with life-saving medications like ivermectin, amoxicillin, Z-Pak, backed by experts like Dr. Peter McCullough. And so just think about this. No more frantic searches, no more running around calling doctors or sitting in waiting rooms. You can have your medical emergency kit delivered to your door, and you can get yours very easily. Go to twc.health/Robert. Use code Robert. You'll save $30 and get yours. Don't wait until it's too late because you can get yours right now. twc.health/Robert. Use code Robert. You'll save $30 and you'll get free shipping right now. And we appreciate the Wellness Company and them for supporting the show today. And so thanks for getting prepared, my friends. All right, now, without any further ado, let's see what's cooking on the day. We've got J6 business to attend to. And so let's get right into this one. Judge Chutkan in the January 6th case coming out of the District of Columbia continues her election interference. This might be her last go because the clock is ticking. Trump continues to pull away from Kamala in the polls, and the Justice Department via Jack Smith, the illegitimate prosecutor, are running out of options, running out of time. So they've got to smear Trump. And they raced to get this trial done before the election, tried multiple times to make it happen. Didn't happen because of that little problem of immunity that's existed in American law forever until the Democrats got in charge this time and decided it didn't exist. But then the Supreme Court stalled all this, stayed everything because they needed to process the case. There is immunity. Trial's not going to happen before the election. So now it's book report time. Jack Smith and Judge Chutkan colluding with one another. Jack Smith is not even legitimate, right? That's up for debate. Another equally powerful circuit dismissed him And he's still prosecuting this case. And now they are dumping materials with weeks to go until the election occurs. And so Chutkan issued this order. We're going to read through the order, but let me get us up to speed on what Trump's people said, because Chutkan, I don't even know if she read this, essentially. They filed this on the 17th. You can see Trump's team submitted this on October 17th, 7-pager, and they asked for a continuance of the release of this appendix because Jack Smith already released his 165-page book report. And quite frankly, it was not that interesting. It was the same regurgitated nonsense, all conjugated in a way that was the most damning to Trump. It wasn't about, the interest of justice or anything. It's just a smear job. And there were some redactions in there, but the appendices should be the conversations and the back and forth between other people that would, if they're released and unredacted, should give the media a bunch of stuff that they can salivate over for the next 2 weeks. So you can think of it as the October surprise from the justice system. And there's not much time left to do much else. Like, I think this is it, unless there's, more appendices or more materials that they'll continue to drop. But my point is, Trump submitted this. Can we please continue this, right? We're in the middle of an election. The DOJ has manuals and other policies. They don't interfere in the elections. They're not supposed to be dropping materials that are going to be dispositive and push things one way or the other. So Trump said, hey, can you just temporarily continue the stay of your order? Remember, the judge came out and said, I'm releasing the appendix, but I'm going to stay the release for 7 days. They're saying, can you just continue that 7 days? Like, all right, just make it like 21 days, and then we'll be after the election. To allow for the concurrent, right? And now Trump is even making a fairness argument, saying, can you allow us to provide our appendices? Like, if you're going to drop your appendix from Jack Smith, who's not even a real boy, how about we can publish ours simultaneously with it? So he'll drop his and we'll drop ours. That sounds fair, right? Trump says, on September 26, Jack Smith sought leave to file its immunity brief and its appendix under partial seal. Now she's going to release all that. The special counsel represented that it had redacted non-public sensitive materials from their appendix in their entirety, but stated that the appendix still contained other, they say supposedly already public materials. And so again, then this is the government, like, taking all of this public stuff. Just think about what is happening. They go through the Washington Post reporting and the DOJ report, and the New York Times reporting, right? So the deep state, via the DOJ and everybody else who's been constantly prosecuting Trump, they regularly leak to the media, and they do that for tactical reasons to gain advantages in multiple arenas, the courts of law, the political arena, right, to create narratives and PR for their side. So then they leak all of that. Then Jack Smith is going to go gobble all of that up, bundle it up, then put the stamp of the special counsel on it, and then file that in an official court document. And so they play off of each other. Then the media will again take that. They're like amplifying it. It's like, it reminds me of like in science class when you would enhance a bacterium or something, right? And then allow that to percolate in the little petri dishes. That's what they're doing. It's the same thing. They're taking something that's non-existent and they're just amplifying it over and over and over until it grows. Then Jack Smith will bundle it all up, deliver it right to Rachel Maddow, and she'll think that she can use it to be useful in her attacks on Trump. Although I think, honestly, a lot of this is backfiring. People are sick of it. Trump objected to the public release of the filings, arguing that the Constitution, as well as the rules of criminal procedure, do not permit Jack to preemptively defend its own lawless superseding indictment before Trump even objected to anything. So Jack is filing so Jack screwed up the first indictment because he had a bunch of immune conduct in there, like he's calling it illegal for Trump to talk to his DOJ. What? He was the president. It's his DOJ. So he had to strip a lot of that out. Then filed it again, a second attempt. And the judge is like, well, I guess we'll accept it, even though we're here right months away from the election. We'll let you try again. So he did try again. And then he filed another filing saying, I need an opening brief. For what? She said, yeah, great, because the Supreme Court said that we kind of need it. And there are many other threshold issues that they could address, like immunity, before they went through this. If Trump is immune, then none of this should have been released. And he is immune. She just doesn't want to deal with that yet. So publication now of cherry-picked materials with Jack describes as a, quote, detailed statement of its case, which is trial in Chutkan's rigged docket is where we're having trial. Not in a court of law, in Chutkan's rigged docket. It would prejudice jurors and endanger potential witnesses, especially in light of the extraordinary media coverage that this case has received. And the election is less than 3 weeks away, Judge, and it's going to irreparably harm Trump. So then on October 2nd, Judge Chutkan overruled Trump's objections as to Jack Smith's redacted immunity brief and ordered its immediate public release, and we read through most of it. The incumbent vice president, whose administration the special counsel serves, that's Kamala, also began featuring Jack's brief in political advertisements. Wow, I didn't even know that. So she is referencing Trump. So see how sick these people are? They're going to lecture us all about democracy. And they're the same people. Kamala's office, Kamala's executive branch, which operates Merrick Garland, who's the Department of Justice Attorney General, hired Jack Smith. Jack Smith is not independent counsel. He works for Garland, and then prosecutes Trump, and then Kamala is going to run advertisements in this vein.
Fight like hell. And if you don't fight like hell, you're not going to have a country anymore.
New evidence about Donald Trump's efforts to overturn the 2020 election.
I think we did see this one.
Bombshell after bombshell after bombshell.
There
Trump
it is.
was pressuring Pence to take action.
Mike Pence has betrayed the United States of America.
Look, those are that must be it, right? Right there. That's the document. 165 pages. See, there it is.
Trump looked at him and said only, so what?
That's Kamala's ad. Wow. So they're still doing that. That's a wild ad. That's what they're hitting citizens with all over the country. They must be desperate. All right, so that's what they submitted. So Kamala is literally using her own administration's prosecutions against her political opponent in her advertisements. And then the Democrats are going to come out and lecture us about, well, we have to make sure we adhere to the Democratic norms. Are you nuts? Are you listening to yourselves? Thus, without any semblance of due process at all, including Trump's right to cross-examine witnesses, which you can't do in a piece of paper, and call his own witnesses in court, the public has been poisoned by a one-sided prosecutorial narrative that is being used for political purposes by Kamala and her administration. And so then after that, on October 10th, just a few short days ago, the court determined that the redacted appendix should also be released because Kamala's desperate, but stayed implementation of that order for 7 days to permit Trump to evaluate further litigation. And so that's what we're doing now, saying district courts possess inherent power to temporarily stay proceedings, Judge, and you can do this. Deciding whether to stay an issue is an exercise of judgment, which Chutkan has none. Here, Trump requests only, very only, that the court briefly continue its existing stay. Just continue it. I'm not asking for anything new. Just postpone it a couple weeks until after the election, such that the redacted versions of the appendix that they're planning to drop and Trump's forthcoming appendix, so Trump's response to Jack, can be released at the same time. Now, although this stay will not eliminate the harms Trump has already identified clearly, certain harms can be mitigated. For example, if this court releases Jack's cherry-picked documents, potential jurors will be left with a skewed, one-sided, inaccurate picture of the case. Those same jurors may not see Trump's later responsive filing, and even if some do, first impressions are prone to remain. And you don't get to cross-examine them like you do in court, right? In court, you have a witness come out, says a bunch of garbage, and you get up and you get to cross-examine them and get to prove that is garbage. And then they get to come back and try to rehabilitate that witness. It all happens in real time. Everything can be reported simultaneously, and that's it. Now, what happens here is Jack's 165-page dookie has been sitting on everybody's desk for weeks now, by the time Trump's going to have an opportunity to respond. So this is especially so as Chutkan also gagged Trump, unconstitutionally restricting his ability to even speak against this using his First Amendment protected political speech. He can't even publicly comment on this stuff. So Jack gets to say whatever he wants on the public docket, and Trump is gagged. Conversely, if the appendices are released simultaneously, if we do this fairly, at least some press outlets, not holding our breath on many, will attempt to report both sides of the case, reducing, although again not eliminating, the potential for irreversible prejudice. Now, similarly, Judge, the risk to witnesses will be somewhat reduced as the public will have a more balanced picture of their testimony and how it connects to the case. And the public interest here, which the court has previously relied on in making scheduling and redaction decisions, also supports simultaneous releases. And they keep saying, well, the public has to know that Trump's an insurrectionist. It's not election interference at all, because the public needs to know. Thanks. As the Supreme Court has held, the determination of immunity raises multiple unprecedented and momentous questions about the president and the limits of his authority under the Constitution. It's therefore essential that the public fully understand the arguments on both sides and that they're not being misled by Jack's one-sided submissions. Indeed, limiting the public's access to only one side of this debate would grievously harm its understanding of what's happening here. And moreover, Judge Chutkan, asymmetric releases exacerbate the very harms immunity exists to prevent, including that the prospects of criminal prosecutions chill the president from taking the bold and unhesitating action that's required of the executive. If, as here, an illegitimate prosecutor like Jack Smith, during a highly contested political campaign, is granted leave to submit enormous public filings examining a president's decision-making while in office, future presidents are going to be a lot less likely and more reluctant to take the, quote, bold and unhesitating action required of them. This is true even if ordinary procedures are followed, with the president making the first submission. But it is especially problematic, right? And Trump didn't file first. Jack Smith came out and says, Your Honor, I would like to just submit this brief. And Chutkan even said, well, it's out of order, basically, but we need it. And said, well, it's 4 times the size of a normal brief, but we want it. But is especially problematic where neither the Constitution nor the rules of criminal procedures that are based on our founding principles, which Chutkan flushes down the toilet regularly, have been followed, thus wrongly allowing the prosecution to file first in anticipation of our motion to dismiss. We haven't even filed that yet on this. Although, again, a stay will not eliminate these harms. It at least is going to bring these proceedings closer to a structure that's mandated by the law. And finally, Judge Chutkan, whether or not Jack is politically motivated here, he obviously is, the asymmetric release of these allegations and the related documents during early voting, we're literally voting right now, creates a concerning appearance of election interference, as noted by many legal commenters with vast prosecutorial experience. Jack Goldsmith said the same thing. Eli Honig also said the same thing. And Jack Goldsmith, I believe, if this is the guy I'm thinking of, I believe he's like a big deal in the DC circuit circles. Like everybody, what does he say? He's kind of one of those. The department could have asked the judge to set the filing date after the election without affecting the prosecution, obviously, clearly. But it didn't need to disclose the new details now because it didn't need to. And because it was foreseeable that the disclosures would cause approximately half the country to suspect the DOJ's motives. Clearly, more than half now, as you can see in the polls. It's hard to understand any reason to go forward this close to an election other than to influence it. Yep, a motive that would clearly violate department policy, especially given the damage to the DOJ from its previous missteps against Trump. It's imperative the department explain in detail why this inference is false, why it's not election interference, and why its actions comported with past department practices and understandings. Obliterated, right? It's clearly election interference. There's no other reason to do it. Everything else can wait. If the election doesn't matter, then just do things in the ordinary course. You don't have to have Jack Smith go first. You don't have to have him drop unprecedented motions on unprecedented legal issues out of order. I bet the Supreme Court is furious. These concerns are particularly poignant given the incumbent Vice President Kamala, her targeted and ongoing use of these proceedings and their false use of these proceedings in her elections, right? It's the petri dish. They seed it and then they just incubate it and it grows and grows and grows. They leak it to the Times and the Washington Post. Then Jack Smith uses the public reportings. Then he puts the DOJ seal on it. Then it comes back out. It's more powerful every cycle it goes through. Now Kamala's using it in her ad campaigns again, right? It originates from her. Now she's advertising. Look, the DOJ. The Hill said Harris's campaign has made Trump actions on J6 a focus of her rebukes against him, arguing that he's a threat to democracy as these people prosecute their political opponents. It's outstanding. Now, although the court has decided over Trump's objections that the political consequences of these proceedings is not a cognizable legal prejudice. So the fact that we're interfering with the election, we've never, that's not recognized into our system as being prejudiced to you, because it's never happened before. The court has not addressed the public's interest in ensuring that this case does not unduly interfere or appear to interfere with an ongoing election. A temporary stay, by just postponing this a bit, would serve that interest by ensuring that the appendix is accompanied by Trump's rebuttal so that Trump can respond in real time, reducing, again, but not eliminating this case's improper impact on the election, as well as the potential for voter confusion. Additionally, a stay would promote public confidence in the integrity of these proceedings and the court's duty to remain apolitical. Now, on the other side of this, says Trump's defense, Jack's office cannot advance any principled reason for immediately releasing this appendix. Why? Why do you need it right now? The requested stay will end the public filing of the appendix, so the public will still receive, well in advance of any decision of this court, all the information that they need. It's going to come out eventually, so why now? For the same reason, continuing the stay will not cause Jack any prejudice. Nothing's going to harm him at all. The information it wishes to release publicly will still be released publicly. If you say it's not about the election, okay, well, it's going to become public. So what does it matter when? Like now or 3 weeks from now? And there's an election happening, so maybe we shouldn't release it right now. Moreover, the special counsel's brief is already in the public domain, despite Trump objecting to that, and Jack represents that the appendix, he says they've already seen the light of day anyways. So he says it's already public, so there's nothing in there. The relief sought herein will not cause any harm to him, but will mitigate a great deal of harm to Trump and the public. And so Trump said, for the reasons that we just described, the court should order its stay to continue through November 14th after the election. Now, at the time of this filing, we reached out to Jack Smith for their opinion on this, and they have not responded. All right, so we don't know what their position is, whether they'll object or not, but it doesn't matter because Chutkan is on a mission, like a heat-seeking missile to take out Trump. This got filed 10/17. She immediately responds. She's got nothing else she's doing that day. Responds immediately. She says, all right, guess what? We're not continuing anything, and we are going to be releasing this appendix because that's our final option. Says, here's what Chutkan writes. It's not a long opinion. Says, all right, here's the deal. On October 10th, the court granted leave for Jack to file a redacted version of its appendix, and it issued a stay so that Trump could evaluate his options. Now, as the court has explained, there is an important presumption in favor of public access. Hilarious. So Chutkan the gagger to all facets of criminal court proceedings. Chutkan the gagger is going to now talk about public access, even though she limited Trump from speaking. The court weighed all of the considerations and saying that Trump doesn't follow the factors that are needed to seal. He says Chutkan says none of Trump's arguments are persuasive. Says first, Trump asserts that releasing the appendix now will poison the jury pool, giving us a skewed, one-sided, inaccurate picture. But says no, that's way too speculative to support a stay. Amazing. It's too speculative. They said the same thing. They didn't say exactly jury pool with Trump and his speech, but they certainly said that it would impact other witnesses, right? Other things, even though he wasn't mentioning anybody by names in those instances. Anyways, so the point is you can see the pattern developing when it's information that they want to present to the public, and Trump is trying to limit it due to due process problems, confrontation clause problems, and total violation of his rights, they'll twist themselves into pretzels to stop him. But if it's useful to themselves, they'll publish the hell out of it. They'll gag Trump. They'll object to the, oh, it's too speculative. They suddenly care about the public knowledge. Both sides' filings will be publicly available other than their redactions, but Trump's will have to come after the fact. Whether potential jurors will be exposed to them and in what order is unknown. So, well, it's just too speculative. You don't know whether the jury is going to care at all. More importantly, a juror's exposure to information about the case is at best addressed through voir dire, which is the jury questioning, right? It's when you are impaneling a jury and you're asking them questions, which is amazing because why couldn't you do that for Trump's statements, right? They gagged Trump so that he couldn't say anything. Why couldn't you address Trump's statements in voir dire? You obviously could. They just don't want him speaking because they're tyrants. During which the parties and the court can ask individualized questions and probe potential bias or impartiality. Yeah, except with Trump, then Trump is gagged immediately. Second, Trump argues that it's essential for the public to fully understand the arguments and the documents on both sides of this immunity issue and is not misled by one-sided submissions. And that limiting the public's access to only one side of this case would harm its understanding of the case. Here's what Judge Chutkan says. Oh, gosh. Setting aside the oxymoronic proposition that the public's understanding of this case will be enhanced by withholding information about it, any public debate about the issues in this case, actually it will, because if it's one-sided information, right, just to be clear about that, if it's one-sided, then they're only going to have one side of it. So you're withholding, Chutkan, you're not withholding it indefinitely. You're just withholding it so that they can be released simultaneously with one another. That's all. So we're not saying that you withhold it indefinitely, but they should come together. Any public debate has no bearing on the court's resolution of those issues, right? So that's what she says. So basically, I don't care about the election. Legal trials are not like elections. And in any event, the court is not limiting the public's access to only one side. Defendant is free to submit his at any point before the deadline. So just hurry up and just create yours and you can release it too. Each side presents its argument, she says. This is how litigation works, simply how litigation works. It's so like snotty and condescending. No, it's not actually. It's not simply how litigation works. You're actually twisting the simple mechanics of litigation by your own admission, giving Jack Smith 4 times the page limit and allowing him to file first in a manner that's totally without precedent. So you can't just default, well, it's just simply how it works. No, it isn't. You're changing how it works right now. Third, Trump contends that asymmetric releases exacerbate the harms that immunity is trying to prevent. Immunity says that you shouldn't have any of this happening. It's a threshold issue that you address first. But the Supreme Court instructed this court to turn directly to briefing addressing the close and fact-specific analysis, right? So she's saying, well, the Supreme Court told me to. And I don't think that's what the Supreme Court said at all. I can't imagine they're happy about it. Those instructions nowhere suggested that the submissions need to be simultaneous, right? So this is that attitude. It's, oh, you want me to take the trash out? You do? All right. Well, I'm going to take the trash out. All right. All right, here we go. Right? I'm taking everything out. I'm throwing that out. I'm throwing that out. I'm throwing that. I'm throwing this out. Like you throw a temper tantrum, right? You overdo it. Maybe that's not a good example, but you get the point. Oh, you want me to do that thing for you, huh? Sure, happy to do it. You overdo it. And that's exactly what she's doing, which is not what the Supreme Court was intending. So the Supreme Court was telling her she can do whatever the hell she wants and violate normal criminal procedure in order to figure out immunity? No, that's not what they said. And indeed, Trump's concern does not appear to be with that, quote, asymmetry, which his own proposed briefing schedule shared. Rather, Trump's objection is to the appendixes released during a highly contested political campaign, she says. Judge writes, but a president's capacity as a candidate for office is unofficial and does not implicate concerns animating his official immunity. Okay, but he's claiming immunity. She is just wild. he's claiming the immunity comes into play based on his prior presidency upon which the charges have been brought. He was a president during J6. He was the president at the time he was communicating with the alternate electors people, so-called, and with his DOJ. Immunity relates back to the time that he was president. And she is so dishonest that she's saying a president's capacity as a candidate for office is unofficial. She's referring to his status now. We're not arguing that. We're arguing that the immunity, so she's crossing the lines, does not implicate concerns animating his official immunity. Well, we're not saying that him running for office right now has anything to do with his immunity. It's not the same issue at all. At all. So accordingly, the court has repeatedly stressed that Trump's concern with the political consequences of these proceedings does not bear on the pretrial schedule. She's conflating multiple things. It's very dishonest. Now, finally and relatedly, Trump claims that the asymmetric release of charged allegations and related documents during early voting creates a concerning appearance of election interference. This is undoubtedly a public interest in courts. There is not inserting themselves into elections or appearing to do so. But litigation's incidental effects on politics are not the same as the court's intentional interference on them. Incidental. Are you kidding? This whole case has been a directed, targeted attack at interference. As a result, it is in fact Trump's requested relief that risks undermining public interest. She's nuts. If the court withheld information that the public otherwise had a right to access solely because of the potential consequences of releasing it, Chutkan says that withholding could itself constitute or appear to be election interference. So if I don't release this, then I'll be interfering with the election. Which is like, I think she's trying to do like a James Comey situation here. You know, I have to publish it. I have to. The court will therefore continue to keep political considerations out of its decision making. It's a joke. This whole case is political. You can see it in the writing here. Rather than incorporating them as Trump requests, any argument about what needs to happen before or shouldn't happen before the election is not relevant here. I don't care. The DOJ brought it. They're not. And she says the DOJ, right? I'm not in charge of the DOJ. If they want to prosecute and not follow their manuals, it's fine. She's written that in prior filings. So for these reasons, Trump's request is hereby denied. In a separate order, the court will lift the stay and direct the clerk of the court to docket the appendix and release these materials with the government's redactions. And so let's see if that has hit the docket at this time. Does not look like it has. And so Chutkan, in one of the more shameful and shameless opinions that we've read from her recently, the clock is ticking. You can sense almost the panic in here as she continues to drop the things that she has in her arsenal to drop. But we'll see what the appendix looks like when it ultimately gets released. Thanks for subscribing and joining us when that coverage continues, and we'll see you back here when it's here. All right, now let's continue on because we're turning our attention over to North Carolina. And this is an interesting one because we're talking about how they're checking the individuals who are filling out the forms to register to vote. And we've seen this pattern before, but here is what is happening. A federal judge in North Carolina is rejecting an effort to clean up over 200,000 problematic registrations of prospective voters on the rolls there. And this is a pattern we've seen before happening many places throughout this country, where we've got a situation where the RNC and the North Carolina Republican Party are suing the state boards, right? The laws say you're supposed to do certain things in order to ensure the integrity of the election, and the state boards are not doing those things. In this case, checking to make sure that IDs match the citizen. So what happens then is the Democrats intervene. You see, they're the intervener defendants. They come crashing in here and they say, wait a minute, we love these rules as they are. In fact, that's why we have them, because they support us massively. And there's a lawsuit that happens here. And in this case, the Eastern District of North Carolina has declared the victors to be the Democrats. Here's what the judge says. Says, the way this started is what happened is the Republicans sued in North Carolina. Sued August 23rd, 2024. It's happening pretty recently. And this is going to be a big part of the response, is they're saying, well, no, you can't. You're suing way too late. The election's like right around the corner. It's August 3rd, 23rd. And the response to that is, well, they just started breaking the rules. Okay, we just started seeing them not implement this stuff. We're just catching these problems as the election is happening. So the complaint now from the Republicans says that the Democrats and the state election board violated state law. It requires North Carolina and the Board of Elections to comply with the Help America Vote Act. Now, one relevant provision of HAVA, okay, so state law says you got to comply with federal law. One relevant component of HAVA obligates states. So the state elections now have to get, in connection with the voter's registration, so if you're going to register, either a driver's license number or the last four digits of a social security number, or an affirmation that the applicant has neither, right? So get one of those things. Register to vote, driver's license number, presumably citizenship is being checked before you get one of those there, or last four digits of social, which means you've got citizenship. Now, notwithstanding HAVA's dictates, so that's the law, Republicans say that the state election board and their voter registration form, so when a bunch of people are registering to vote, it made optional the fields on the form where the applicants would provide either their driver's license number or the last four digits of their social. So now someone discovers, oh, when I can register, I don't even have to fill that out. I can just go online or whatever and just fill it in. Or wait a minute, if I hand write it in, I don't have to fill that out? The complaint alleges that as a result of this and the system, applicants would have no way to know from the form that the driver's license number or the social security number were required for their form to be accepted and processed. Now, a concerned citizen realized this flaw in the form and filed a complaint. According to the complaint, the government acknowledged that the registration form did create the risk of these HAVA violations. They modified the form prospectively so that it would actually comply with federal law, right? So they go, oh, oops. Oh, well, weird. Yeah, oh, no. We better fix that. But we said, okay, well, how many people have used that bad form that just filled it out and got registered without matching their numbers? Well, can you go identify those? Can you identify and contact the voters whose registrations were improperly accepted? You want to go find them for us? No. They said no. The government alleged, and their alleged noncompliance with HAVA has resulted in the NCSBE accepting, they say, hundreds of thousands of voter registration applications without applying the HAVA information requirement, meaning hundreds of thousands not checked. Citing concerns about the potential for voter fraud and vote dilution, then the Republicans brought this lawsuit, raising two claims. First, they say, hey, state law says it requires the government, the states, to maintain its voter registration list and under the requirements of HAVA. The law says you got to comply, so comply. Second, they raise a direct claim under the Constitution of North Carolina, saying that they took actions directly to interfere with North Carolina's fundamental right to vote. And so they seek a court order that remedy their noncompliance. They need to remove ineligible voters from the lists or require voters who did not provide their ID at the time of their application to cast a provisional ballot. Like, they can go back and see, right, who filled it out appropriately or not. Now, while this action was pending in state court, guess what? Democrats came crashing their clown car into this. Oh, no! There's a bunch of our voters on there. So they intervened. Approximately 2 weeks later, they moved this action to federal court. Then the feds and the North Carolina State Conference of the NAACP and others intervened. And so now the RNC wants to go back to state court. They say this is ridiculous. Why are we in federal court? There's no federal question here. They say removal was improper. And so we should go back down to state court. So now they're going to talk about the jurisdiction of the federal court. And the judge is going to, of course, say, I've got jurisdiction. So we'll skip some of that boring stuff, which is about removal. And there's a lot there. All right, private right of action. All right, let's go. So we'll continue forward, and let's see where this judge gets into, well, a lot of this. And here we go. Federal question stuff. Wow, it's a lot of this. All right, so let's just fast forward a little bit. Didn't realize there would be this much on this. We want to get to some of the substance past the removal stuff. Let's see where we're at. Federal state balance. Is this whole thing on this? All right, so here we're down now to the motion to dismiss. All right, so the government is now trying to dismiss this. Now, although this private cause of action turns to a separate body of law, yeah, they're saying it does not expressly provide for a private cause of action. And so under North Carolina law, implied rights of action are disfavored and will not be found in the absence of clear legislative intent. And so the court further finds that their styling of count one, so we saw what their two claims were, one under the Constitution, and here they're seeking a writ of mandamus, cannot save this. A writ of mandamus, we're not going to force them to do this. So plaintiffs make two arguments, neither's availing. They say that you can order them to do something here and to clean up these rolls. But the question presented in that case is whether they suffered an injury in fact. Count one does not meet that prong, and it doesn't reach the merits. In essence, in the absence of any indication that North Carolina's General Assembly allowed you to bring a claim under that, I don't see it. So your motion to dismiss is granted. Okay, so the government wins. Count one is dismissed. It's really a standing issue. You had no right to come and sue under this claim to force them to make any changes here. So now they also move to dismiss count two. This was the claim brought under the Constitution. It's the only remaining claim because the others have been dumped. The claim raises a novel issue under North Carolina constitutional law. The court further finds compelling federalism reasons for declining to exercise jurisdiction over that count. And so that one looks like it is going back down. So accordingly, the court declines to exercise jurisdiction over count two, remands that back down because it's a state constitution claim. And so here, let's see how the judge concludes this out. Says the emergency motion to remand is denied from the RNC. So it's not going back in its entirety. The government motion to dismiss is granted in part. Count one is dismissed, not coming back. But the court does remand count two to state court. And it stayed until October 22nd so that the parties may seek an appeal if they so choose. And they probably will. So that this thing is delayed until after the election. So we're guessing that those voter rolls will not be cleaned up. Obviously, the election is about to be underway, if it's not already underway, in North Carolina. But the reason we're sharing this is just to show you essentially what these claims are and what's happening. So the claim was even acknowledged. Okay, so they filed a complaint. They said, hey, they're accepting a bunch of people in, and the government acknowledged it. They said, we decline to identify and contact the voters whose registrations were improperly accepted. And the court is allowing that to happen. So when they say it's the safest, most secure election ever, well, there's 225,000 people here that we don't know anything about. Or we know a little bit about, but not enough about. There's 110,000 in Arizona, and the list goes on and on. So Democrats win again. They really like as much mess as you can have in an election. They don't really want to check IDs. They really want drop boxes all over the place. Everybody can have multiple ballots, whatever you want. It's total bedlam, including 225,000 people who are on ballots who probably shouldn't be on ballots. Now, Congressman Gaetz is introducing some legislation to address some of this. He says, in response to DOJ suing Virginia because they want illegal aliens on their voter rolls too, and we read that case. We covered that indictment or the claim by the DOJ. He is now opening up new legislation. Here's what it looks like from Matt Gaetz. He says, here's what we do. We would amend the National Voter Registration Act. This act may be cited as the National Voter Clarification Act. It would make some changes. It would strike some things out. And that's a very technical brief. But he says, if enacted, it would amend Title 52 to clarify federal law to ensure that states are clearly allowed to remove voters who are ineligible due to citizenship status from their voting rolls within the 90-day window. And that's obviously something that should happen, right? I can't even imagine how our secretaries of state and the election boards and all these people who are failing to maintain the lists and the rolls, how they can or will actually stand up with a straight face and tell us that everything is operating as it should and we are operating in a free and fair election when the lists themselves are problematic. We'll see if they respond to this. Thanks for subscribing as the coverage continues. All right, so we've got one final update, my friends, and then we're going to hear from you and see what you have to say about this. Trump obliterated White Dudes for Harris and many others at the Al Smith dinner there in New York, and it was a sight to see. We've got some highlights here and some reaction from a white dude himself, Brian Stelter, who says, you know, Trump was pretty dang funny here, and we'll see what the reaction looks like because even Polymarkets and the other markets are showing that Trump continues to pull away from Kamala. She's down at 37% there on the markets that we've been keeping our eye on as the day develops. But several good clips here. Kamala decided to emerge and summon demons from the seventh circle of hell, where many in her party reside. So we'll see what she said at her event last night. But Trump came out swinging, man. Said these white dudes for Harris, he doesn't care if they don't vote for him because their wives' boyfriends will.
A group called White Dudes for Harris. Have you seen this? White Dudes for Harris. Anybody know? Are some of you here? White Dudes for Harris doesn't sound like it. But I'm not worried about them at all because their wives and their wives' lovers are all voting for me. Every one of those people is voting for me. And as you may have seen, Kamala did an interview on Fox News yesterday. It went so poorly for her that the Democrats have been forced to install another 100 drop boxes throughout the city.
Yeah.
And the upside really is Kamala now sees the benefit of deportation. She wants to deport people. She's vicious. She wants to deport people, and she wants to start by deporting Brett Baer, Fox.
Yeah, sorry, Brett.
It's an interesting interview last night. Huh? A major issue in this race is child care, and Kamala has put forward a concept of a plan. A lot of people don't like it. The only piece of advice I would have for her in the event that she wins would be not to let her husband, Doug, anywhere near the nannies. Just keep them away.
Oh!
That's a nasty one. That's nasty. I told these idiots that gave me this stuff, that's too tough.
But he said it anyways, didn't he? Oh, man. Doug's probably so mad. Hopefully he's not backhanding people back in the campaign closet somewhere. So now he's going to be ripping on Chuck Schumer. And there were some funny exchanges here with Chuck Schumer because Chuck Schumer seemed like he was kind of having a good time. In fact, there was another clip of them hanging out and talking with one another, kind of patting each other on the back like it's all fun and games because Chuck Schumer actually doesn't think Trump is an insurrectionist who's a threat to American democracy. He just lies to his audience about it.
Coming in very, very strong, a certain way. I won't tell you what way that is, but Chuck Schumer is here looking very glum. Doesn't he look glum? It looks
What's
glum.
wrong, Chuck?
But look on the bright side, Chuck, considering how woke your party has become. If Kamala loses, you still have a chance to become the first woman president.
You can do it, Chuck. You can do it. We'll call you Chuck Chelsea something. I don't know. It's going to be horrific. All right, so it continues on. He went out and went after Bill de Blasio, terrible governor there in New York.
And it's not Michael, that I can tell you. I'm surprised that Bill de Blasio was actually able to make it tonight, to be honest. He was a terrible mayor. I don't give a shit if this is comedy or not. He was a terrible mayor. He did a horrible job. That's not comedy, by the way, that's fact. But unlike the rest of New York, at least Bill doesn't have to worry about the criminals. They owe him.
All right, so Trump was just on a tear last night, and that was the nanny clip. Here's one from Mayor Adams. So Trump had to wrap things up pretty quickly because there were some illegals who needed the room.
Well, I'd better wrap up because Mayor Adams told me earlier that I needed to make this one very quick, especially the city has reserved this room for a large group of illegal aliens coming in from Texas. That's right, they've reserved many rooms, a lot of rooms, too many rooms. Well, I'd better.
So hilarious line after line. And Kamala had a weird thing happening here where she brought out this little video. So she showed up and published this video, and it was very strange. And I'm not really going to play it because you can kind of see what's going on here. A bizarre thing. Now, I got to say, it's kind of an astute thing to do. There's no way she could have shown up there with Trump. It'd be like getting into the ring with Mike Tyson in his prime or something. Like your boy getting into the ring with Mike Tyson in his prime. They'd be like, nuts. Lunacy, right? Like, get out of here. Like, no. Obviously not going to happen. I'll send a video in, though. You want me to send a video in? I'll send a video in to the ring with Mike Tyson. I mean, to be fair, I would get into the ring with Tyson because, it'd be just like, what a story. You might die, but you might have the best story of all time. But, more likely to die. Anyways, I have to think about that. But the point is, she doesn't want to step into the ring. It would have looked like a really bad contrast to have the two side by side. Trump coming in there, ripping on backhand Doug, abortion Doug, all the things. Well, Kamala's trying to be funny and not be weird. It would have been a disaster. So astute that she didn't show up, but it's not good for her. I don't think that people are going to be happy about this because they obliterated her basically the entire night. And here's what the crowd sounded like after her little talk.
And in each other. Thank you. May God bless you. And may God bless the United States of America.
I don't even know what that noise you're making is. So I don't know. As I watched that, I couldn't help but think of, now I know how my kids felt when I FaceTimed into a piano recital they were at.
The crowd. What's that noise for Kamala? Yeah, great job. Yeah, great job, Kamala. That's how America feels about you. So even Brian Stelter, a white dude, is agreeing. Kamala goofed. Trump was pretty funny.
Brian Stelter, what did you make of this performance?
Oh, no, don't ask me first. I thought he was funny. I thought he actually got a few great jokes in. I thought the best moment was we talked about the assassination attempts and made light of what he's experienced, because I think he's experiencing real trauma, real PTSD as a result of the shootings, but he's still able to have a light moment in this room. And he took advantage of the fact that Kamala Harris wasn't there.
Which is really the subtext of this whole thing.
Exactly. That she didn't.
They're usually supposed to be in the same room. Brian Stelter,
She was not there. and it's not working out too well for him. In fact, as you can see in the polls, in the Polymarket polls and elsewhere, things are going down, down, down for Kamala. Where's she at right now? 38, 37.4. Woo, not looking good. All right, so someone else was there at the event. Who is this person right here? Who is that? Who's up there? I don't know who that could possibly be. Who's that up there? Oh, it's Tish James. Letitia James, the woman who sued Trump in one of the most rigged civil events we've ever seen for $500 million for transactions that, even as the Court of Appeals there in New York said, involved co-equal parties with no disadvantages. There were disclaimers in the agreements. Nobody complained about it. There were no victims. Everybody made money. They did business over and over and over again. Trump delineated in his financial statements that they should do their own due diligence. The list goes on and on. Guess who's there standing up and clapping for him? That must hurt Tish. Painful for her to have to stand up in honor of President Trump. Now, I wonder if she has her shoes on or if she took them off like she did in court when she was sitting next to Alina Abba behind the bar, not doing any actual legal work. So she was there. And meanwhile, Kamala was out doing some seance summoning of demons from hell. And several of them emerged into our reality using her as a vessel, as you can see. And even the people in the background are a little bit traumatized. You can see this youth is wondering if they're going to be marching a new way forward into the gates of hell. They don't really know what's happening here. So brace yourselves.
Should never again stand behind the seal of the President of the United States. Never again. Never again. Never again.
All right, so I think that basically you'll get it, you'll see a lot more of this. And I would expect her polls to continue to drop. Just drop like a stone. Because nobody wants to be governed by demons from the seventh circle. All right, and so that's Kamala. We'll keep our eye on the polls and see how her performance unfolds. Thanks for subscribing and joining as we do. All right, my beautiful friends, it's an amazing day. Thanks for joining us early and for being here. If you're just tuning in, we read through some of the Judge Chutkan updates on the J6 case. We also covered a North Carolina lawsuit where there's 225,000 people who are on the voter rolls who are going to continue to be on the voter rolls, even though the form was broken, and they admitted the form was broken, and 250,000 people used a broken form, but that's okay. It's still a free and fair election. Everybody gets to vote, no matter what. So we've covered that. And then we had some highlights from the Trump roast last night at the Al Smith dinner, and it was a ton of fun. But it's a beautiful Friday, my friends. I hope you have accomplished all the things you set your mind to this week. We're here early. I have an event today. It's going to be amazing. It's day 2 of the event. And so thanks for joining us early so that I can make it down there. It's a great group of people. I always come back restored a bit, refreshed, got some new ideas, and meet some amazing new people. So I'm looking forward to it. But before we head on out and head on over there, let's, of course, say hello to you, my beautiful friends. And let's see who is here and joining us. I think we had a couple of donos in the house. What's going on? We do. What's up to our friends over on YouTube? Let's see who's cooking over there. And what's up, Kojax? Good to see you. Hey, I heard Trump had Trump and Bongino. Is that still going on? Somebody posted they had 300,000 live concurrent. Man, that is awesome. So very good stuff. Okay, so let's see who's joining us, my friends. It's a beautiful day. Thanks for hanging with us. And I see some great donos. What's up, Rocky Water? Rocky, good to see you. We got some YouTube friends in the house. Hey, here's what's going on. Let's do this. M. Chrome. What's up, M. Chrome? Just became a new YouTube member. Thank you, M. Chrome. Very nice to see you. Thanks for joining us. What's up? Ollie's in the house. Says, uncover the Georgia judges Robert McBurney's ruling. Did I cover it? We covered one of them for sure. We covered the hand count ruling from McBurney, but he also had another one, which I think is being appealed. So I think the other one, the RNC said that they were going to appeal. There was another one. We may have covered two from McBurney. There's so many, it's hard for me to keep track of them. We've definitely covered one, maybe two, and there's another one that's queued up. The RNC said that they were appealing one of his other ones that just came out. And I don't think we've covered that second one yet. Kimmy Joe says, Rob, what do you think about the Labour Party from the UK coming here to stomp for Kamala? I think it's illegal, right? If that's a true story. I saw that spread around on X, and it was like a Facebook screenshot, I think is the story I saw. Yeah, I think it's like foreign interference, right? It's like election interference. Are they registered as foreign agents? I don't know. Do they need to be? Not under this administration. Yeah, I think it's a problem. Don't think that that's appropriate at all. And we don't appreciate other countries meddling in our affairs or threatening our businesses or eliminating free speech. Do they have free speech in the UK anymore? I don't think so. So we don't really want them stomping here for us. They're officials, because they don't even protect free speech in their own homeland. Hey, Bitorn says, can Trump fire his lawyers? Ramifications, if any? Yeah, sure he could. I don't know why he would. I think they're doing a great job. I mean, if you just chuck it up, like what's the scoreboard right now? Zero convictions. Zero. He's got verdicts against him, but the sentencing in the New York case is not happening before the election. Fannie's case is stalled out. The Jack Smith case has been dismissed. The Bragg prosecution, right, the sentencing's not happening till later. The J6 case is probably going to be dismissed after Trump wins the election. So I think they've done a great job. What's up? Ollie is here. Hey, what's up, Ollie? Gifted one membo in the house. Man, we got a bunch of membos coming in. You guys rock. Thank you for this. So Voice of the People is bringing in 5 membos. Membo friends, welcome aboard. Great to have you here. Membos, we're doing a Membo stream tomorrow. So Saturday, we'll be back on our regular schedule. Membos, 9 a.m. Arizona tomorrow, which is Pacific time, noon for our Saturday stream tomorrow for Membos. Good to see you. Thank you, Voice, for bringing in 5 Membos. Bill Robb is bringing in 10 Membos, 10 new friends. Welcome, courtesy of Bill Robb. Same is happening with More Here, bringing in 10 more Membos. Thank you, More Here is bringing in 10 More Here, courtesy of More Here. Ollie bringing in 5 Membos. Thank you, Ollie, and welcome aboard 5 new friends. We got a bunch of Membos. We got Wendy Donnelly, Dottie's mom. Hey, shout out to Dottie and Dottie's mom. Gifted 5 Membos. Welcome aboard, new friends, courtesy of Wendy Donnelly. And Bill Robb is here, bringing in 10 Membos. Thank you, Bill Robb. And welcome aboard to 10 new friends over there. Thank you, Bill Robb. Brought in another 10. Amazing, Bill Robb. And More Here brought in 10 more here. This one from Pope Rackets Touched Me, Membo for 15 months, says, prosecutors on easy mode. Smith is using cheat codes. Jack Smith apparently can do whatever he wants in Judge Chutkan's courtroom. She's like, yeah, that sounds good. File it. How much do you need? He's like 150 pages. Have 165. All right, I'll see you later. Enjoy. Make it good. CL, what's up, CL? Says he was both. He was candidate and the president. Yeah, but I'm saying right now, at this moment in time, she's saying that immunity doesn't apply to his candidacy here, right? Because he's running for president now, and so this case is not going to interfere with his candidacy now or the election now, which is conflating the two issues. He's not claiming... Well, immunity should be resolved because the charges are based on the time that he was a president and a candidate. So that's where immunity comes into play. But the election introduces new, other issues, and immunity is related to that impacts this election. But she's saying, I think the way I read that was that his candidacy now doesn't impact the immunity decision, which it's not what we're talking about. So she's just dishonest, I think. Hey, CL, what's up? Hey, Voice of the People. Says, remember the things I've mentioned about HAVA data and the election? I didn't realize the alarm we sounded would go this far. North Carolina is making moves. You're right about that, Voice of the People. I'm glad to see it. Glad you're drawing attention to it too. We've got this one. Tasmanot says, can you imagine if white dudes for Trump was a thing? Yeah, no, I know. You're getting arrested for even suggesting that. FBI's on their way right now. Charlottesville is on steroids. LOL. Really appreciate your coverage. Love from Tasmania. What's up, Tasmania? Shout out to our friends in Tasmania. Shout out to Tasmanot. Thanks for that. Do they have the FBI over there in Tasmania? Probably not, but they'll probably load up some people on airplanes to come get you because you even suggested white dudes for Trump. Means you're a Nazi. One old guy says, savage Trump. I'm glad his people got the jokes. I emailed them. Just kidding. I couldn't have written better digs. There were some good ones in there, man. There were some zingers for sure. Good to see you, one old guys. Thanks for the comment and the dono. Voice of the People says, I'm waiting for that stream, Rob. You start the show by saying, I punched Mike Tyson in the face and got destroyed. It'd be a rough show. Yeah, because my jaw would probably be up here, Jaw would be over here, 2 black eyes, ears hanging off. Probably have one less ear. Be like this. Show be like this. Hey, everybody. Just got out of the ring with Mike Tyson. Good to be here, though. It'd be rough, right? Sorry, Mike. That was a joke. Don't murder me. All right. Ollie, what's up, Ollie? Gifted 1 membo. What's up, Ollie? 1 membo coming in as a new friend. And one old guy's opinion says, cackling comrade Kamala, Timmy, Coven cackling, cuckling hens, and simp boys, gosh, can call upon their fallen patriot Democrat demonism. Now that is a hell of a comment from one old guy's opinions. Wow. There are a lot of words in that one. That's for sure. Hey, we had a couple other donos over on Locals. What's up to our Locals friends? This old guy says, did Chutkan actually read Trump's answer? She's smoking something stronger than tobacco. Yeah, it's called corruption, and it messes you up, man, big time. Hey, Rocky says, happy Friday, Rob. Great stuff. I'm particularly at peace today after watching Trump's Al Smith dinner speech. So many quotes that just, scratch some hard to reach surfaces, if you know what I mean. I do know what you mean, Rocky. I do. Yeah. And Trump, he nailed it, man. He nailed it. I watched it and it was really, really pretty outstanding. And there's a gravitas there. There's something that Kamala definitely doesn't have and few do. It's hard to make up. Rocky says, hey, regarding the speech at Trump's, I found it fairly surreal. Literally surrounded by those who believe you should be murdered or at least in jail and making fun of them and fairly viciously without the slightest hint of worry. Watching it at times, I was thinking, does Trump have any idea how much these people hate him? He completely disarmed the crowd in the beginning being genuinely nice to several of his enemies. He was actually, right? I didn't play that, but he was very congratulatory. That was a home run of a speech, in my humble opinion, on many levels. I agree with you, right? Trump has that gravitas, go into a room and just dominate the whole room and dominate the news coverage. And it's certain people can do it. Not everybody can do it. Obama can do it. Okay. Bill Clinton can do it. Like those guys can do it. And Kamala just can't. Biden couldn't either. Obviously, Biden was a fake candidate just as much as the rest of them. It worked that time because of COVID and many other things, but they're not going to be able to do it again. So I think you're right, Rocky. And I also think, there's probably an interesting dynamic here that I bet a lot of the people that we think absolutely hate Trump, or let me say this, that have a public persona of absolutely hating Trump, I don't buy it, actually. I think that a lot of them are actually smart people and they're just playing a shtick. I think it's dishonest, but it's a shtick. And behind closed doors, they'd be perfectly friendly with Trump and fine with him. But they've got a brand, they've got a shtick, they've got a demeanor to share, and they're not really authentic. And many of them are, I think, pigeonholed into a success trap of that brand and that identity. They don't have the freedom to be their authentic selves because they've built an audience around a certain ideology, which is a success trap. So they're stuck, and they have to continue the certain way of saying things. And I think Trump actually gets that, to be honest with you. And the reason I say that is because I heard a clip from Megyn Kelly when Megyn Kelly was talking a little bit about the original exchange with Trump, right? It felt like there was some bad blood between them. It almost felt like there was like animosity between them. But I think ultimately what I took from Megyn Kelly's comment, not to put words in her mouth, was that she recognized that from Trump's perspective, it was about attention. It was about creating a conflict that would elevate them both. It wasn't personal. It was just good TV is really what it was. Like, it's just good TV. It's not personal. It's not anything. It's just attention grabbing. And attention is the new oil and gas. It's everything, right? It's what everybody's fighting for. So even though it might feel personal to us on the observing end, it's kind of not. It's just like a big game in many ways. So we got to keep that perspective as well. But don't get me wrong, Rocky. There are many people who want Trump dead and murdered as well in that room. So, yeah. Hey, what's up? Tasmanaut says, as for your question, yeah, the FBI, come and get me in Tasmania, LOL. Come on, get me. Feds, we have a very similar demographic and environment to Appalachia in Tasmania. The whole world needs Trump. My petrol's $5.85 a gallon in Yankee terms here. Golly, from Tasmanaut. What a great comment. All right, Feds. You heard the man. I like it. I like your energy. Come and get me, punks. All right, it's funny. Tasmanaut, thanks for the details, man. Yeah, thanks for that. I don't know anything really about Tasmania. I don't think so. Not a lot there. But thanks for being here, and thanks for the great dono. And CL says, but the case is about him being president. Yeah, the case is the immunity is about him being the president, right? He had immunity related to his presidency. All right, and so, my beautiful friends, we are going to leave it there. Your boy is wrapping up for the day. We're going to head on out to an event. I'll be there all day and a large portion of the night. But I am grateful that we got to spend this morning together. It has been a beautiful Friday stream, and it has been quite a busy week because the election is just a few short weeks out from here. And so we're excited to have you here. Thanks. I know there's many places where you could be spending your time. I really am honored to spend the time together with you, having a ton of fun, and I think we're doing good work together. So I'm grateful for our time together. But my friends, we're going to leave it there. Locals, hang tight. We're going to come over there for a few minutes to say our hellos and goodbyes before we call it a day. But my friends, I hope your week is wrapping up oh so beautifully. Members, we will be back tomorrow for our Saturday stream. Can't wait to see you there. But my friends, if we don't see you tomorrow or over on Locals, I hope that you have yourselves a tremendous weekend, that you're doing something amazing. You're spending time with your family, your friends, the people that you love, doing whatever you need to do to recharge your batteries, rejuvenate your spirit, and restore your soul, because it's election season, baby. And hopefully you're also filling out your ballots and sending those in too, in addition to all those other things I mentioned, because we're going to come back here on Monday and we're going to get into it again. And in order to do that, we're going to need to see you right back here so that together, with your help, we can shine that big, beautiful spotlight of accountability and transparency down upon our system with the hope of finding justice. Make it an amazing Friday, my friends, a beautiful weekend. I'll see you right back here on Monday. Bye-bye.